Welcome back to Razmafsar TV. I'm going to continue with my talk on different topics of leadership and organizational leadership and management. These are things I teach by the time at four different universities in Germany. I'm specifically concentrated on one university, and one important topic is when you have an organizational splitting and how to tackle that. Well, organizational splitting can be or could be dangerous, but it could also be an opportunity. Let me just explain. Very often we have cases where in those cases you come up and make a restructuring. You know that when we have a restructuring, let's put it that way, we have a bankruptcy code and legislation in different countries, and in those bankruptcy codes and legislation, you need, as a managing director of any organization or business organization or corporation, act once there is a fear that your company cannot pay for the obligations they're supposed to pay, be it social security or also be it social security and social benefits and salaries of their employees within a certain period of time. It differs from one legislation to the other. In some legislation, it's 1 year. In some legislations, it's 2 years. And if they cannot do and fail to do so, then they face bankruptcy. And if they don't report it in time, then there is a danger, and this danger will be that they are going to be liable. Now, we don't want to go into legal ramifications on it or of it. So, in such cases that we come and, for example, when we have, let's say, 500 people, and then they want to make people redundant, let's say 200 need to go so you can keep your organization or company afloat, and within a period of time, so you can use different ethical frameworks in leadership, be it consequentialism or be it principle-based ethics. I don't want to go in that direction. So what we have is that organization, after say restructuring, it can be seen, if you manage it correctly, as an opportunity to grow. And so is organizational splitting. But there is a major difference between organizational splitting. There is a major difference between organizational splitting and restructuring. In organizational splitting, there is no fear of bankruptcy that you need to initiate, and there is also no fear of say that economic necessity to do so. But organizational splitting is done when a certain person or people in your organization try to split your organization and hijack your organization. In that case, organizational splitting is described, as I'm using now, mostly referring to Bill Addy, my colleague Bill Addy, 2016. And so then we come and say organizational splitting happens when several people in an organization split off in hostile opposition to the rest of the organization or the group. Please remember, they hijack, they go away, or split off in hostile opposition. The question for us will be, where does it happen? And that's a very important question to ask. It can happen in political groups or in politics, such as the recent Brexit of Britain, exit of Britain or Brexit of Britain from the European Union. It can happen in businesses like Disney, Hewlett-Packard, and so on, and in faith-based organizations such as churches, mosques, and in non-profit organizations. Mostly, the source of such splitting is that you have, or the existence of a the existence of a high conflict personality or high conflict personalities in your organization. What does it mean? These high conflict personalities normally are responsible for causing a split in your company, organization, which sometimes, often seldom though, risks endangering the very existence of the organization if you do not react to them. You have certain dynamics in that, and certain dynamics in it will be, it often catches people by surprise, people who remain in your organization. It is generally pushed and caused by high conflict people. We call them HCPs. And these are people who lack normal conflict resolution tools because they have intention, and this intention is to split and use the resources of your organization to their benefits. Additionally, according to Addy, they lack insight into themselves and overestimate their skills. This is very important. I repeat, they overestimate their skills and are preoccupied with blaming others. It's a phenomenon which we see again and again. They overestimate themselves, and then at the same time, they are preoccupied with blaming others. Often they are new positions of power granted to them. Means that you grant them a position of power. They feel like bloated, they feel like entitled. And then you gave them this position of power to grow and to learn. But sadly, it leads to the fact that they start to overestimate their skills based on their personality character or characteristics they have or traits they have. Normally, these are people who seem to have a problem over long-established policies and procedures to obtain and to gain personal or obtain personal gains. There are many real problems and issues that can cause disagreement, dissension in an organization and management. What is striking in organizational splitting, though, is the hostility toward the original organization, which is masked often. If they feel pressure, they try to mask it and say they didn't want to do it that way. They had a different opinion. They wanted to have different interpretation, but it's only a masking. Please, I would like to just warn all my students, all my clients, because these are what they planned to begin with. But interestingly, there is a lack of real substance underlying many of their high conflict complaints. HCPs have a tendency to see the world in all or nothing terms. Means all or nothing. Within a system or organization, they see others. They see others or other people, other employees, other members in all bad terms. They consider themselves in all good terms. If you agree with them, then you're good. If you go with them, you're good. If not, you're bad. This often has to do with the narcissistic personalities, not always, but often, which by their nature see themselves as superior to everyone around them. Interestingly, they mirror this frame and send mails or call former heads and members as people suffering from narcissistic disorder. We have seen it very often in coaching executives and consulting clients. The reason is, again, they cannot reflect on their own behavior or misdeeds. But instead, they are preoccupied with the behavior and misdeeds of others. They have a tendency to present themselves as heroes in a battle against villains. They see themselves as extreme heroes and seeing others as out of touch. establishment, faith leaders, and organizations and institutions, as Bill Eddy says, as broken, beyond repair, and other extreme terms, at least behind the curtain. And when they send emails, when no one can see them, they do this, but openly, of course, they use different terms. They normally do this by sending emails, as I said, while in the open they try to portray a logical image. This is, again, something which goes hand in hand with narcissistic disorder personality trait. Reasons, again, are we are having an increasing social change and instability. Modern technology leads to different problems and different solutions. I would like to mention to my students and also to my members and also to my clients and students at the university, we are not here to accuse people of this. We are here to make sure that your organization is not hijacked. You're not going to go through an organizational splitting. And many of these people who do this is due to, as I said, Bill Eddy says, modern technology, which leads to different problems and different solutions. We increasingly are operating and thinking as individuals rather than as teams or communities. So there is a shift if we want to come back and look at individualism and communitarianism, as Trompenaars and Hampton Turner said, or as Hofstede said, that with more and more or increasingly or an increasing emphasis on individualism, these things happen. Result is that we have less stable organizations and institutions with the constant pressure for change. More people with high conflict personalities, especially narcissism, they think they have the right answers to an organization's problems. They think so, but reality is something different. For us, it's important for you, anyone going through this and seeing all these people, HCPs, avoid becoming a negative advocate for a possibly high conflict person. Recognize that others are at risk of becoming the HCP's negative advocates. Don't underestimate the power of them, and Bill Eddy mentions that, to persuade others to follow them. But I would like to stress this is going to be temporary, because people who follow these people soon realize that they just followed an illusion and something without substance. Unless you're aware of this dynamic, they can easily influence people though, so you need to be aware and counter that. Educate members early and often to watch out for all or nothing thinking, extreme terms to describe problems and extreme solutions. Remember, it is important to respond to misinformation in a timely manner. Lack of information or lack of correction will often lead to rumor. Solutions will be propose realistic solutions to your organization's problems and discourage others from taking extreme positions. That's very important. That's what we are doing. I have been doing. Express interest in problem solving, discourage flame throwing or mudslinging, have an openness and interest in other people's point of view, promote and maintain civility within the organization. Have organizational structures that maintain order and appropriate procedures for making proposals and making change. Have everyone included setting meeting agendas, but also someone in charge of maintaining order at meetings. I would like to stop here. I could go on and on and on, but these are some ideas about tackling organizational splitting and stopping further damages by an organizational hijack. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you wish more comments on that, please, your information, let me know in comments. And if you want to add to this important topic, please do. I wish you a nice day, and please subscribe, like, and ring the bell. I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.